It's that time again. You'll be listening to this on Sunday. I wonder what the weather will be doing on Sunday. This weekend's supposed to be nice actually here in Britain. Great Britain, UK. We used to have a sticker on the back of the car if you went abroad. GB it said. Now it says UK. Friends Not Lovers. What a title. Well, that's what I've called it so far. Friends Not Lovers. I'll go into that a bit later. I don't know what the temperature is. The flag's going mental. We've had lashing rain, dreadful wind and lashing rain all night, on and off. At 6 o'clock, it was dreadful out there. It was like a monsoon. 10 minutes later, the sun was out. In fact, now there's blue sky. Anyway, forget the weather. I'm fed up with it. All this going on about temperatures and barometer readings. Best thing is to look out of the window. What's the weather like? Dreadful. Right, that'll do. Happy days. Chris, nice to chat to you on the radio. Well, keyboard chat on the radio on 40 metres. That was great. Hope you're listening to this. Won't bore other people with that, but Chris is down in Somerset somewhere and I'm here in Sussex, and we had a chat to each other on the radio, but via the keyboard. You type to each other rather than use a microphone. I won't go into that. As I say, that'll bore you all. We've got the kids back at school, haven't we? Well, we haven't. Our kids are all grown up, but the children have gone back to school. Lovely. That reminded me of, the summer holidays in the old days, in the 50s, here we go, you're saying, here we go. When I was a boy, in the 50s and 60s, the summer holidays were fantastic, but the end drew ever nearer, ever closer. 2 weeks left, only a week left, and we're back at school. Oh no, a few days. Then my mum would say, school tomorrow? Or happily, probably to get rid of us kids. Oh, school tomorrow, you're all out of my hair. Go on, all clear off tomorrow morning to school. Leave me in peace. I hated it. I won't go into that. I'm not going to go on about the weather, because I hate that. I won't go on about school, because I hate that. What did I say the other day I wouldn't talk about? Oh, that was the weather, wasn't it? James, nice to hear from you. James has got a couple of teenage kids. We've all been there, James. Nightmare. Nightmare. He says it's fascinating listening to them having a conversation with each other. They're perhaps chatting about school, and one will say, so she was like, I'm not going. And I was like, well, why aren't you going? You said you go, now you've changed your mind. And she was like, because I'm not doing it anymore. I don't have to go if I don't want to. So I was like, well, you promised you would. We've got the tickets now. And she was like, and James, he says, there's all this. She was like, I was like, he was like, they were like. He says, what's going on? I know, James, yes, I've been there. I know, I've listened to these conversations between the younger generation. In our day, it wasn't she was like and I was like and all that. It was, so he turns round and goes, well, you've bought the tickets now. So I turns round and goes, yeah, but we could get a refund. So he turns round, everyone's turning round and going somewhere. Now it's all, he was like, she was like. I don't know what's going on, James. Thanks for that email. That's made me laugh, that did. Do you know, I've even heard newsreaders on the telly doing a similar like thing. One of them might say, well, I asked so-and-so about that, and they were like, blah, blah, blah. Even newsreaders on the television. And she was like, and I was, let's move on. Just before we move on, another thing kids and youngsters do, and I think they get it from their parents, particularly their mums. The mum might call, say, the daughter. So the daughter mooches into the room. What? Can you pop round the local shop and get some milk? What, now? Yes, now. Have you heard that? All this, I don't know what it is. It's on the end of words. When? What? Adults do it on the telly. I've heard adults doing it. Some sort of emphasis, isn't it? I don't quite know what it's about. I suppose we all have our idiosyncrasies, don't we? Another one, they can't just call out mum. It's mum. Or mum. The one I like most, I think, is Mum, you know how much you love me? Yeah, what do you want now? How much do you want? You know how much you love me? I remember one mother, I was there around my friend's house, and she said, yes, I do love you, but I don't like you. Right, so what's all this friends and not lovers about? There was something on the telly the other day about can people, male and female, be friends without anything going on? Can they just be friends? I didn't see it, but Angela did. Hello, Angela. Thanks for your email. Nice to hear from you. And she says, Are you or were you ever able to be friends with a female without anything going on, as she puts it? Yes, yes. Now that reminds me of many years ago. I used to go to a nightclub in town, and sometimes I'd walk there, sometimes I'd get a lift from someone. If the weather wasn't good or I didn't feel like walking, I'd drive. And a girl I knew, she lived in my road, a girl I knew, I used to give her a lift. That started because one evening I met her at the club and gave her a lift home. She only lived down the road. And we got into this sort of routine. She'd phone me and say, "Are you going to the club? Could you give me a lift?" So that was that. And we were only friends. And then she then she started saying to me, "Could we pick up my other friend on the way?" That was another girl. "Okay, yeah, we'll pick up her on the way." And it ended up, there was another one. She wasn't on the way. She was the opposite direction. It was one of these girls said, "Oh, she's not far. Could you pick her up as well? It's not that far." I think it must have been winter time. The weather was awful. So I ended up taking these three girls to the nightclub whenever I went. Well, not whenever I went, because sometimes I'd walk or get a lift myself from someone else. And one of them I became quite friendly with. In fact, we went to the cinema together. I forget the film we saw. And after the film, we went into the local pub, had a few drinks, then bought fish and chips, and we walked home together. I didn't live far from the town. It was walking distance. And every now and then, if it was a boring time, like midweek, nothing is going on, nothing much happening in town, she'd ring me or I'd ring her and say, "What are you doing? Do you want to go down the pub?" And we'd go down the pub together. Then on the way home, perhaps buy fish and chips, like you did back then. I could eat fish and chips at sort of midnight back in those days. I can't do that now. I'd need a week off. I'd be ill. I can't stay up till midnight, let alone eat fish and chips. Stone their crows. But we were good friends, and we stayed friends for a long time. In fact, eventually she found herself a boyfriend, and I was invited to their wedding. I got on with him all right. I was invited to their wedding, which was great. We lost touch in the end, which is a shame. I don't know what happened, but I didn't see her for a long time. And then I bumped into her. I'm saying, "Oh, hi, hi, how you doing? How's your husband?" "Oh," she said, "Oh, I'm all right. I've got 2 kids." "Oh, wow, excellent. But I haven't got a husband." "Oh, well, what happened there?" "Oh, we split up, so I'm now a single mum." "Ah, right, a single mum with 2 kids. And anyway, she said to me, "Do you want to go down a pub one evening?" So, all right, yeah, I'd do that. And I think then she was, I don't want to be rude about her, she was looking for a father for her 2 children. Lovely kids. I met them, went round the house that she had. But I didn't want anything sort of involved like that. I didn't want... So we just stayed friends and then eventually drifted apart. But yes, so to answer your question, Angela, yes, you can be friends with females. I get on actually with ladies. I quite like chatting. Trisha's got some lovely friends and I quite like chatting to them. And they are simply friends, nothing more, never would be. But I do seem to... I don't know, I seem to, I won't say hit it off with the ladies. That doesn't sound good, does it? That doesn't sound good at all. I do enjoy female company. It's nice to have a chat. I think going back to my teens, some of my friends looked upon girls as objects. I won't say any more than that. You know what I mean? They were objects in their mind. I didn't do that. I looked upon them as, well, what they were, people. I didn't mind whether someone was male or female. I'd chat to them as friends. They were people. Whereas some of my friends couldn't stand there at the bar in a pub chatting to a girl without having thoughts. I mean, I had thoughts, don't get me wrong. But anyway, I'm digging myself a hole now, aren't I, that I won't be able to climb out of in a minute. You know what I mean. I was able to look at the members of the opposite sex as people rather than something else. So that was good, wasn't it? That was good. There were 1 or 2 friends that were just friends that developed into something else. But of course, that's how it happens, isn't it? You meet someone, you get chatting, you perhaps meet them again. Do you want to go out for a drink? Do you want to go and see a film? Do you want to go out for a meal? And it develops, doesn't it? So they didn't all remain as friends, but most... Right, that's enough of that. I don't know what I'm talking about. Happy days. Not this weekend, but I think it's next weekend. It's going to be quiet in the house. Trish is going to Butlins at Bognor. Needless to say, I am not going to Butlins in Bognor. I hate the place. So she's off there with, who is it? Her sister and daughter number 2, and another lady, loads of them all going over there. They're going to have a fun weekend. I know how to live. I'm going to record podcast episodes, make videos about radios and transmitters, talk to people on the radio, fellow nerds. What a weekend I'm going to have. That sounds awful, doesn't it? You're thinking, what is this bloke like? Get a life. I've got a life. I've got a good life, actually. So all the ladies will enjoy that. They love Butlins. And it's no good. If I go, I just spoil it. Well, I don't spoil it for them. But as Trish says, I sit there, what is it, with my face looking like a slapped wasp. I can't remember what she says. Or a slapped something or other. I just sit there, I suppose, looking a little bit miserable because I can't stand the place. Anyway, enough of Butlins. I'm not talking about that. So what else is happening? Oh, next week, before Butlins, she's going to London. That's with daughter number 3, is it? And I don't know what's going on. So I'll have a quiet day then. What are they going to see? I can't remember. I should know, shouldn't I? I can't remember. I'll remember later. I'll tell you later what it is. Anyway, they're going to London to see something or other. So that'll be another quiet day here. So I can record more of next Sunday's podcast episode. Get a life, you're saying. Get a life. Oh, I know what it is. Starlight Express. I think that's what they're going to see in London. Starlight Express, whatever that is, I don't know. I think I've told you before, on a Butlins weekend, what I do is pick up brother-in-law and mother-in-law on a Sunday lunchtime, and we meet at a lovely pub in Felpham, just outside Bognor, and we have Sunday lunch there, which is rather nice. We meet the girls there, or the ladies, I should say. They're not girls, are they? They're old ladies. We meet the old ladies there. We're daughter number 2, she's not an old lady. And we have Sunday lunch, which is rather nice. Then I drive back, drop mother-in-law off, drop brother-in-law off, and come home again. So that's quite nice. I look forward to that, actually. Sunday lunch in a beautiful old pub. It really is a nice pub. Also, this month, we've got the Pink Floyd tribute band, which I love. So Trisha's sister and I love Pink Floyd. She's not bothered. Brother-in-law isn't bothered, but her sister and I love it. So we really enjoy that. What I'm not doing this year, which we did last year, we went to a local pub on the way to the venue and had a meal. The meal was all right, the food was okay, but the pub was absolutely jam-packed with youngsters all shouting at each other. Goodness knows why they have to shout. I suppose because the music was loud. It was packed with people shouting, going on, Stone the Crows. Do you remember I was telling you about it last year? You don't remember, do you? And the girls were half naked. I don't know what they were wearing, not much at all, honestly. Skirts and tops that were... Anyway, moving on from that, I didn't look. Of course, I didn't look. Well, you know me. I mean, I'm a gentleman. Certainly wouldn't look at that sort of thing. Anyway, I've said I'm not doing that. I'm not going there again. Dreadful place. They'll probably want a meal on the way. This is the trouble. They want a meal on the way. So hopefully we can find somewhere else a little bit less raucous. I don't do raucous. I used to. In my teens, I was good at raucous. Not these days. I've just looked up the word raucous. Boisterous and disorderly. Was I boisterous and disorderly? I suppose I was. In my teens, downtown, nightclub, beer, ladies, girls, whatever. Yes, I suppose I was rather boisterous and... I don't know about disorderly, or perhaps I was, I don't know. What were your teens like? Come on, let's have some emails from you. raiserants@protonmail.com. Were you raucous in your teens? Were you boisterous? Can you be girlstrous? I expect you can. If you're a boy, you're boisterous. If you're a girl, you're girlstrous, aren't you? Let me know. raiserants@protonmail.com. It's really good when you get your first car. I know I had to give girls lifts and things, but it was really good. It gives you that sense of freedom. You're not asking people for a lift. Oh, could you give me a lift? I wonder what time the bus is downtown. Oh, I've got to walk into town. Oh, it's raining. When you get your own car, it really is fantastic. I had a CB radio in my car. Just for fun, I was trying out CB because it was the rage back then. And I went up the Downs because there were some CBers that were meeting up in this car park. I was a licensed radio amateur, but I thought I'd try the CB business. And I went up to this car park, and there's, 3 or 4 cars up there, all their aerials on, and they're all chatting to people in town and stuff like that. And I was chatting to some girl or other, and she said, I can see you. You're parked just near me. And I looked, oh yeah, there you are. She said, come and get in the car. So I got in the car, and there's two of them. So I'm in the back of the car. They're both in the front on the CB radio. It's great fun. Obviously, without a car, I couldn't have done that. Meeting people up there at night. Well, it's about midnight or something daft. It was fantastic. I'll tell you what's brought this on. Had an email the other day from Jack. Hello, Jack. He doesn't drive. What did you say you were, Jack? 50 something or other, and you've never driven a car. Now, that is strange. I know a few people that have never driven. They don't drive. They've got a licence. They just don't drive. Isn't that strange? I can't imagine what it's like to not have a driving licence, to not have a car, to have to get lifts everywhere or someone else drive everywhere. The thing is, when we go on holiday, for example, the Isle of Wight, if I twist my ankle or do something dreadful and I can't drive, Tricia can drive. Now, what if she couldn't drive? What would we do? I can't drive, she can't drive. We're stuck in the Isle of Wight, especially a few years ago when we got 4 grandkids in the back. You know, one in nappies screaming and the other saying, what are we doing? Why are we stuck here? I don't know what we'd do. I just can't imagine being without a driving licence. That's something else. Anyone not able to drive? That would be interesting. How many of you can't drive or don't drive for whatever reason? Again, raise rants at protonmail.com. These days, there are times when I wish I didn't drive. The roads are atrocious. Tricia's just gone over to Littlehampton to pick up number 3 daughter. She's just texted me. Roadworks everywhere, can't get through, sat in a queue, gridlocked. Absolute nightmare. What is the point? Wherever we go these days, roadworks, you can't move. In the old days, nip over to Littlehampton. You'd be there in 15 minutes. These days, allow an hour. She did. She allowed an hour. She gave herself an hour. Just as well. She sat in a queue now at some roadworks or something. I've got to drive, when is it? Sometime or other this month or next month, to Alton in Hampshire. We're staying up there, I think I told you. I think it's 2 or 3 nights up there. So we'll stay in Alton. We'll go down to the New Forest, have a look at a few places. Just a break, that'll be nice. I don't mind that sort of driving. Or driving to Portsmouth to get the ferry to the Isle of Wight. It's local stuff, nipping to Littlehampton, nipping over to Shoreham or Brighton. Brighton? No way, I would never drive to Brighton. I'm not doing that. The local stuff, once you're on the main road, it's not too bad, like the A27, M27 down to Portsmouth. That's not too bad. A23, which becomes the M23, that's not too bad. But anywhere locally, you know, it's just gridlocked. I hate it. And as for parking, well, there is no parking anyway. Let's move on from that. Kerry thought it was lovely that I repaired that lady's radio. Do you remember, for nothing, a lady, was it her grandmother's wedding present or something? And this girl wanted it repaired, restored as a present to her grandmother. And she couldn't afford it, basically. So I said, look, leave it with me. I did the radio, restored it all, made it look nice and shiny and working properly. And when she came back, she said, oh, no, I told you not to do it. I can't afford it. And I said, no charge. Off you go. Kerry thought that was nice. I did 1 or 2 like that, probably 3 or 4 over the years, where I just felt sorry for someone. They wanted it for a relation or whatever it was, something family thing, you know, family heirloom and that. And I thought, well, that's all right. I'll just do that. It doesn't matter, does it? As I said last Wednesday, money isn't everything, is it? It's not everything. We don't have to think about money all the time. What's in it for me? Could you have a look at that for me? I can't make it work. Well, I don't know. What's in it for me? Dreadful. Guess what? The day they're going up to London to see this Starlight Express, tube trains are on strike. They're on strike. I think these people are on about £500,000 a year. Stone the crows. What are they on strike for now? Ordinary train drivers, they're on, 70,000 a year. And apparently with overtime, they can get 100k a year salary. Train driver. Crikey, I should have been a train driver. I don't know what the tube strike is about. Probably money or conditions or something. We seem to have strikes. Was it the junior doctors? What are they called now? Not junior. Are they resident doctors or something? They went on strike again, didn't they? I don't know what's going on. Well, I do know what's going on. Everyone wants more money. I want more money. I want more money from my pension. I won't get it, but I want more money. So I don't know what they'll do when they get to, was it Victoria Station or London Bridge Station? I don't know what they'll do. They'll probably have to get a taxi. I don't know how far they've got to go to this venue. I think they've got a hotel for the night. Yes, booked in. I can't remember what they said. Isn't it awful? I can't remember what Tricia said. I think they're staying overnight. They've got a hotel. which is all part of the kind of package. Then they're back on the next, I don't know what. Anyway, they'll have to get a taxi or something. I'm sounding a bit hoarse or a bit donkey. Why horse? Horses are all right. Anyway, I'm sounding a bit hoarse. I'm going to go and make a cup of tea, and I shall check on my app here, find my friends. Now, let me have a look to see where everyone is. Oh, Tricia is actually in Littlehampton. Oh, no, hang on, she's on her way back. It's caught up. She's on her way back. Still in Littlehampton. So obviously she got through the gridlock. Right, time for tea. I shall see you in a minute. Well, it's rather a long minute. It's now Friday. Beautiful blue sky, sunshine, little breeze from the west. You might hear Tricia in the background. She's downstairs on the phone to daughter number one. She tends to be rather loud. What's that record? Our house in the middle of our street. There's always something going on, and it's usually rather loud. That's where we live. Happy days. Must tell you about this girl. I've got a story. I want to tell you a story. There was this girl in the pub. She was known to be a bit of a gold digger. We were chatting one evening. She joined us, and she was just talking about money, and we thought, here we go. Word had it, she was a gold digger. And she started actually to go in depth a little bit and explain why she had this interest in money. And she said that her parents had had a hard time bringing up her and her brother and sister. Her dad didn't have a good job. Her mum worked part-time. And she said that when she married, she wanted someone with prospects, someone with some money, not someone that she was going to have to struggle with. They both struggle to pay the rent or the mortgage. So, we could see her point. It was a good idea. She did say, I don't want to marry someone purely for their money, but I'm not going to marry someone that's got no prospects and we're going to spend a lifetime struggling. Now, this idiot friend of ours in the pub, Malcolm, he said, you want to get off with Dave, he's loaded. We knew who he meant, which Dave. There was only one Dave we knew. We're frowning at each other, looking at Malcolm. What do you mean? Oh, Dave's loaded. You want to get off with him? He's got loads of money. Well, we knew Dave lived with his parents. He didn't have any money as far as we knew. He worked in some office somewhere and that was it. So when this girl, Alison her name was, when she went off to the loo, we said to Malcolm, what's she talking about? He's got any money. What are you on about? Yeah, it's a wind-up. He said, Dave will be in later. She'll chat him up. If she thinks he's got money, she'll chat him up. It'll be a laugh. Anyway, Dave did come in later. And she did start chatting to him. Not chatting him up as such, but she started chatting to him. They got on very well together. In fact, they arranged to go out together. I was rather concerned because this was a bit of a mean trick to play on Dave. She thought he had money. He hadn't got any money as far as I knew. He never seemed to be loaded. And it would be a big letdown for him once she discovered that he hasn't got any money. Anyway, I didn't think it a good idea. But they started going out with each other, and as the weeks passed, they were getting on better and better. And I was wondering, we were all wondering whether she'd broached the subject of money. Did she say to him, are you loaded then, Dave, or what? I don't suppose she'd put it that way. But we were all rather concerned. But this idiot Malcolm, he thought it was great fun. Have they split up yet? Has there been a big row yet because he's broke? They carried on going out with each other, and one evening they were in the pub and they announced that they were going to get engaged, to be married. Cripes, everyone's thinking, cripes, they're going to get married. But Dave hadn't got any money. It transpired that Dave did live at home with his parents, as we knew, but it was a huge house on a private estate. I know the estate, it's west of me. Is it? Yeah, west of me. Beautiful houses down there. He lived there. His parents had a huge house. The office he worked in, yes, he worked in an office. It was his dad's company, and it was a very big, successful company. So Dave might have not had any money himself, but his parents were loaded. Dave had good prospects. He was already climbing the ladder in his dad's company. He never spoke about this. He just met us in the pub and we'd have a chat. Obviously he didn't start saying, my dad's loaded, I work for him and he's got a big company. He wasn't like that. He wasn't boastful or anything. So all this came out eventually, and it was fantastic. But the thing is, they were actually in love. She wasn't just after him for the money. In fact, she told me that he had only taken her back to his parents' place to meet them after they decided to get engaged. She didn't know that it was his dad's company. She didn't know where they lived, the big house. She didn't know any of that. So it worked out really well. And they did get married, and as far as I know, they're still married. I haven't seen them for years, but as far as I know, they're still married. So that's nice, isn't it? A nice little story while you're drinking your coffee. Listen to a nice story. What else can I bang on about? What's it say here? Can't drive. Oh, I mentioned that. Yes, email me if you can't drive. raiserants@protonmail.com. I heard on the TV that they're now saying that 5 pubs every day are closing in the UK. 5 every day. That's incredible. It was only a week or two, wasn't it? I said it's 8 a week. I thought that was wrong, you know. I don't know where that came from. 8 every week are closing. It's 5 a day. That's more like it. They reckon there are 115,000 pubs. I don't know when that was, they didn't say. And now there are under 45,000. They were saying on the telly, which is what I've said many times in the past, elderly people, they're on their own, they end up on their own. They pop along to the local pub, perhaps at lunchtime or early evening, sit there, nurse half a pint for an hour or two, to meet other people, join in a bit, you know, see a bit of life, things going on, perhaps chat with other people that find themselves on their own. But of course they're disappearing, all these pubs. I got talking to an American chap some months ago now. I meant to tell you, did I tell you? No, I don't think I did. I probably forgot, you know what I'm like. The last time he was here was in the 1960s. And he said to me, where's all the red phone boxes gone? He laughed. I said, well, people have got mobiles. He said, yeah, same in America. They don't have the phone kiosks or whatever they call them anymore. And then he said, but where have the pubs gone? Did I mention this? I don't know. If I did, I apologise. He said, where are the pubs? All the quaint little pubs, as he put it. Quaint, I like that, quaint little pubs. I said, well, they're closing at a rate of knots. Yeah, they really are. They're just closing down. And he said, oh, no, back home, he said, you know, we talk about the pubs, your red phone boxes, your London buses and all that. He said, that's Britain, isn't it? In America, that's what we talk about. That's Britain. And then he said, where's all the quirky little shops? Quirky little shops. He said, I used to love going to different towns in Britain, looking at the little quirky shops. And there weren't there? There were all sorts of shops in the old days. Now, there's nothing. In fact, he said, all I can find are coffee shops and mobile phone shops. I mean, there are 1 or 2 other shops, of course, but he's right. And he said in the 60s, obviously there were the phone boxes. Well, they've disappeared because of mobile phones. But he said there were pubs everywhere. There were quirky shops everywhere. He said it was a pleasure to walk through each town that he visited, looking at all these weird and wonderful shops. He said, what are you going to end up with? I said, I've got a clue. Nothing, I suppose. Nothing. What are we going to end up with? Nothing. No phone boxes. I do miss the phone boxes. Not that I use them much in the end because people, I don't know, we all had a phone at home, didn't we? Then mobile phones came along, so the phone boxes started to disappear, which is a shame because I suppose they can't leave them there. You can't leave phone boxes without a phone in. They'd get vandalised, wouldn't they? They'd probably get stolen. People would probably dig them up and take them home if they knew they were empty and not used anymore, especially the ones out in the country. I remember driving out into the country and you'd see a phone box here and there, one on the corner of perhaps a Y junction of a country lane, there's a phone box. You go a mile up the road, there's another phone box. Near the woods, you'd find a little village, there's a phone box there, opposite the little village pub. He said, we in America call you a nation of shopkeepers. Now that's an old term, isn't it? That goes back to the 40s, the 50s. We were a nation of shopkeepers and a nation of pubs and phone boxes. It's not funny. I suppose it's change, isn't it? It's progress and all this nonsense. The amount of times people have said to me, why do you go on about the past? Why do you go on about little pubs and little villages, cottages with roses round the door and all this rubbish? It's gone. It's history. You know, why do you want to bring it back? I suppose there's some, sense in that, is there? I shouldn't live in the past, possibly. This is what people say, oh, you shouldn't live in the past. Some utopia from the 1950s. Anyway, there we are. To me, it is utopia. It was utopia. I know I shall be accused of being boring, but Where's the little copper that used to cycle past on his bike? Evening, all that. Cycle past on his bike with his helmet on, just checking the streets, making sure everything was okay. Then we had the panda cars, didn't we? Do you remember the panda cars? Don't know why they were called panda cars. Morris Thousands, the Morris Minor, and the Ford Anglia. You'd see them pottering about, wouldn't you, with the cops in there? They'd be driving around the local streets, just having a look, make sure everything's okay. That's gone. The postman's gone. He only turns up a couple of times a week now. He's disappeared. The candlestick maker, he's gone. Anyway, there we are. It's all good fun. Might be a bit of a shorter episode this week. It's Saturday afternoon now, by the way. We've had a load of people for lunch. We've had all sorts going on. Yesterday, did I tell you about yesterday? I can't remember what I've told you, what I haven't told you. Trish went up the ladder. She was doing my aerial. Next door neighbours helping. So we were out there for a couple of hours. Then she cleaned out next door's gutter. They had a blockage around the front. It was above their front door, so whenever it rained, they've got Niagara Falls over the front door. So anyway, she cleaned that out, which is good. We've got lovely neighbours. All our neighbours are nice. My friend's got some neighbours that moan about his aerials. My neighbours help put the aerials up, so that's fantastic. House prices, if you want an average house price, I got all this from the news. I get all this rubbish from the news. The average house price is, what was it, 299, we'll call it 300,000. I think it was 299 something or other thousand. That's the whole of the UK average, apparently. I don't know how that works, because some parts of London, is it, I don't know, St John's Wood, Knightsbridge or wherever, your average house is like 3 or 4 million. Whereas up north somewhere in a village, it's, I don't know what it is. Yeah, it could be 60,000, I don't know. I suppose it is the average, though, of the whole country. There was also a chap on the telly, a farmer, banging on, a bit like me, banging on about things. And he was saying that when he was a boy, he went to work on the local farm and he helped out and he did all sorts of things. His friends had paper rounds to earn money. They did Saturday jobs and all this business to get some pocket money. He said these days they don't want to do anything. He said they sit around just playing around on their phones. I think the youngsters, well, I know the youngsters get fed up with this. Was it a week or two ago I was saying that the youngsters don't want to hear that when I was a boy I had to walk 1.5 miles to school in the snow and then I had to walk home another 1.5 miles later on. And what was that joke? Oh, we lived in a shoebox in the middle of a cesspit. Oh, that were luxury, that were. They get fed up with it. Understandably, people don't want to hear about that, do they? In the 1950s, when I was a boy, blah, 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 we didn't have all this rubbish on the telly. Telly was good back then. That's something else they were talking about. Radio was good back then. Everything was good back then. Anyway, let's move on. Look at that blue sky. That's nice. A breeze, well, more than a breeze, quite a wind from the east. I don't know what's going on there. Perhaps we're going to have some snow. I've just drilled a hole through the window frame for my aerial wire. This double glazing stuff, I don't know, it was easy when we had wooden window frames. I had to drill a hole through the plastic frame. Trish doesn't know, I haven't told her, so we'll keep that between us. I had to bring the wire in somewhere. Anyway, the aerial's working really well. I tried it out last night and it was really good. So that's the result. You see, that's Trisha's help again. Up the ladder she was, fixing the wire up there. I can't go up ladders. My neighbour, he can't go up the ladder. He's done his knee in, so he held the bottom of the ladder. I'm looking up at Trish, instructing her where to put the wire and what to do. Neighbour's wife is there as well. She's helping. 4 of us out there, all putting up my aerial wire, then cleaning out a bit of gutter over their front door. But this is what neighbours and friends are for, isn't it? Helping each other out. I like that. Oh, I must tell you this. Trish was vacuuming in here the other day. She was vacuuming the carpet. And there's bits of wire and tiny little nuts and bolts and washers all going up the vacuum cleaner. And she's saying, oh, what's all this going on? What's happening here? That's exactly what my mum used to say. In fact, my mum has said to Trish, it's your turn now to vacuum up his bits of wire and nuts and bolts everywhere. She used to do that in my bedroom when I was 10. I was building things and taking radios to bits, nuts and bolts everywhere, bits of wire, all going up in her vacuum cleaner. She said, now it's your turn, Trish, you can do it. That's funny. Actually, I'm very lucky to have this room, my high-tech air-conditioned recording studio and radio room, because a lot of my friends, they're in a shed or a garage or a tiny part of a room. You know, you can have your radios in that corner there on a small table. I've got the entire room. Hell. I've just been downstairs. A load more people turned up. I'll have to end it here. This is daft. This Saturday has just been so busy. Stuff going on. Anyway, there we are. Sorry it's a short one this week. I should try and do better next week. Oh, next week, of course, Trish is at Butlins. So I should be home alone. So we can have a bit of a longer episode again. I've had nothing but interruptions this time. I shall love you and leave you. And I shall see you on Wednesday, of course, with the midweek message. I've got to go down and show my face now to all these visitors who have just piled into the house. Look after yourselves. Be good. If you're bad, well, don't be bad. And if you are, don't get caught. Take care. See you on Wednesday. Bye-bye for now.